Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Daily Fantasy Digest Podcast, the all-inclusive podcast where we talk all things fantasy sports to help give you an edge. I am your host, Joe Bewer, and today I'm going to be breaking down the May 22nd 10-game main slate. This is going to be a Wednesday slate. It's pretty big for a Wednesday slate. We've got a lot of top pitching options, middle and high tier that I think are going to be able to be in play, as well as some very, very expensive bat stacks that we're going to need to fit in as well. So I want to go ahead and talk about my favorite cash game options, as well as some GPP plays and some value plays that you're going to need to help you get up to those high-priced bats. Let's go ahead and talk about our pitching options first. At the top, you'll see we got four 10K plus price pitchers: Gerrit Cole, Max Scherzer, DeGrom, and Rich Hill. I'm mainly interested in one guy here, and I'm really interested in Gerrit Cole here today against the Chicago White Sox. I think that this matchup is just soft compared to what Gerrit Cole has been used to this whole year. He's been virtually dominant. He had one hiccup, and that has just seemed to be dissipated. He's been on an absolute roll, 10 or more Ks in two of the last four games. Draws a soft matchup at home, and it's just going to be a dream matchup, and that's why the price is what it is. But I'm willing to pay up here, and I think that a lot of people are going to pay up here in this position, and he's going to be the chalkiest pitcher on the slate for sure. I think Max Scherzer and Jacob DeGrom are both GPP plays for me. Scherzer and DeGrom both been struggling lately, and at any point the Nationals or the Mets bats can heat up. For me, Rich Hill's an interesting play for me. I don't believe his price is, I think it's a little bit too high. I don't really understand why he's 10-2. I understand the previous game that he had, putting up 36.3 Draftkings points, 10 Ks against Cincinnati, but that is Cincinnati. Going up against Tampa Bay, I guess because they're primarily a left-handed hitting team with Austin Meadows and Yandy Diaz, people like that. But I do want to highlight that there's some potential plays in there, such as Tommy Pham, that can actually be able to exploit some of Rich Hill's poor pitching. So I'm going to actually fade Rich Hill, but I would say that Gerrit Cole is definitely the cash game option that you're going to want to go with. For me, there's two middle-tier pitchers that I really want to highlight here, and somebody that I'm going to have in my lineup. Plug Cole in here really quick. That is Martin Perez. Perez has been on an absolute tear lately. I think he's one of the most underrated, incredible pitchers this year. Price hasn't really showed it either. It's barely gone up. You see it jumps from 6.6K to 8.5K, and it's just hovered, even though he's had 7Ks consistent, over 20 DraftKings points, or over 30 DraftKings points in two of the last four games, and then over 20 in three of the last four games. And I think that his K upside really just, and his command when it comes to pitching, is just going to be able to dominate the Angels, as Andrelton Simmons is on the injured list right now. So they're currently missing him in the 4-hole. So I'm assuming that they'll have to fill in somebody like they did last night with, I believe his name, it was Walsh, played first base. So I think that Martin Perez actually draws a pretty favorable matchup here against LA. The only person I'm really not pleased with is Mike Trout in that lineup, but I think that he'll be able to strike out players like Albert Pujols, Tommy La Stella, Cole Calhoun, as that lefty-on-lefty matchup does not favor the batters. So I think that Martin Perez is going to fly under the radar a little bit, and I think that he's somebody that I definitely want as my SP2. One last player that I do want to talk about is Max Fried. I think this is a GPP play for me. It does draw a soft matchup at San Francisco, very pitcher-friendly ballpark. And I think that he's going to be able to dominate the Giants, who have just been absolutely terrible this year. He started pitching more deep into games after the past two games, 5 innings and then 6 innings, with the 7Ks and 5K in those two games. You see the point totals on the side, 17.3 and 25.1. I think that, allowing Fried to start getting deeper into games is going to be beneficial to his overall pitching. And I think that he draws a pretty interesting matchup here against the Giants, and I think this is actually a soft matchup for him, and I think that he'll be able to command through this game and actually provide some pretty good GPP upside. But for the sake of this video, we're going to go with Perez, and it's going to be very tough to fit in some of these bats. If you're playing GPPs and even potentially cash, you're going to have to kind of come off Gerrit Cole and potentially go with two mid-priced because the stacks are pretty incredibly high. But for the sake of the video, this is before this video, throughout my research, this is what my lineup's most likely going to look like tomorrow. I would have loved to lock Jarrett Cole in, but 12K is just really, really, really expensive. If you're going to go with Cole, you'd have to go with somebody in the 6K range, and I'm just not comfortable doing that. Jose Urena and Samardzija, Matt Harvey, those guys have K upside, but it's just not for me. So I think I'd rather go with 2 mid-priced today. And these are the 2 mid-priced that I like. But Jarrett Cole is the number 1 option, as he always is on any given slate. So moving into bat stacks, I have 4 bat stacks that I really want to highlight. 2 of them are going to be chalk. One of them is the Yankees going up against Baltimore and Dan Straley. It's a no-brainer for me. Standout players for me are Gleyber Torres, Aaron Hicks, Clint Frazier is sort of a value, and Brett Gardner. I'm not too keen on paying $5,500 for Gary Sanchez as a catcher, and I'm not really too big on Luke Voit because I feel like there's better first base options there that are actually cheaper. But for me, the biggest lock of this is going to be Gleyber Torres. I think that he just draws the softest matchup and is just going to be able to dominate. He's hit incredibly well over the past few days. He's actually hit 3 homers in the past 2 games. It's quite honestly outrageous. And he's actually starting to heat up. So I think that Gleyber Torres is just a one-off lock for me that I'd like to take from this Yankees team. Next stack, and arguably probably the chalkiest stack, is going to be the Houston Astros going up against Ivan Nova. George Springer day-to-day, if he doesn't play, I love Michael Brantley the most, the lefty on righty action. I love Josh Reddick as value here. Love Reddick. Reddick's probably my favorite player, lefty bat. I love the upside that he has at 4,400. I think it's just so cheap. So I'm definitely going to be locking in him. I'm going to be locking in Yuli Gurriel as well, most likely. And I do like Alex Bregman as well. But like I said, they're just so expensive when it comes to these bat stacks tonight. It's going to be really hard to fit all of these guys in. So I'd like to, after these 2 chalky stacks, I'd like to go ahead and jump into my cash stacks that I like that are a little bit cheaper, and that's going to be the Minnesota Twins going against Matt Harvey. I think this is going to be overlooked when you look at the 2 previous stacks that I just talked about. But I really want to go ahead and highlight on a few players here. Big fan of Max Kepler tomorrow. He usually hits leadoff against righties. I think that 4,100 is just a soft price for how incredible he's been playing. And then another value play that I want is Luis Arraez, however you say that. He's been hitting incredibly well recently, and 3,300 just provides so much value that I think that he's going to be somebody you're going to want to lock in as well. If we get rid of Gleyber, we can put him in there. And I do want to go ahead and highlight one more value play, and that's going to be Marwin Gonzalez. I think that the price is just never going to go up. I can't understand it. I'm never going to be able to understand it. It's just staying at below 4K, and that's just where he's going to be. I think a 3-stack for the Twins tonight really creates some value that you're going to be able to get some of those high-priced bats in. And I'm a really big fan of Polanco and Cron as well. If you would like to fit those in, as well as Eddie Rosario. I feel like the pricing just didn't make any sense. I know there's a lot of players above 5K, but I think that Polanco is usually a 5K player, and he dropped $400 over the past day. So I'm a big fan of Polanco, Cron, and Rosario as well to mix into this stack. Last stack I want to talk about. Let me add Torres back real quick. Last stack I want to talk about is going to be very underrated stack, I would assume, and I'm hoping it's a very underrated stack, is the Detroit Tigers going up against a super soft matchup in Jose Urena, who's been absolutely dreadful this entire season. And I want Castellanos. To be honest, first and foremost, I do want Nicholas Castellanos. I mean, he draws the best matchup for me. And it's somebody that I think that is going to be very, very clutch for the Tigers. I think that the recent hitting spell and the drop in price is just only making people come off of him, but you do see a 200 price increase that is indicating that the Tigers are going to have some sort of edge over Jose Urena. And I think that that's going to be something that I really want to dive into. But there's going to be some playing around with the lineup here that you're going to want to go with. It's going to be tough to fit in all of these guys, so you're going to have to kind of sag off some of them and go with others. Just to go ahead and narrate some other players that I do like from the Yankee stack. Big fan, if I take away one of these guys, of Aaron Hicks. I think that he's been absolutely incredible since coming back, and I think he just allows the team to really come back to life. And I think that's going to be something that I really want to pair with Gleyber Torres tomorrow. So if you do end up sagging off Kepler, I would definitely go with Jason Castro, who's been absolutely ridiculous as of late. And it's unbelievable how good that he's actually been. So I really want to go with Jason Castro and then potentially fill in here with Jeimer Candelario. 3,100 for a player like him is just absolutely ridiculous. And I think that this lineup right here is just a sample of what I might go with. It's a little stars and scrubby, but I think that Luis Arraez and Marwin Gonzalez and Candelario have so much upside for how they've been hitting and playing as of recent. Now, like I said, this doesn't have to be exactly how you would choose a lineup. You can definitely sag off Castro at 4,100 and go for a lower catcher. But the Yankees and primarily the Twins are going to be my favorite stacks tomorrow, mixing in a few Houston. Josh Reddick's my favorite player from Houston Astros. I think that he just creates the most upside at such a cheap price. It's ridiculous. So I definitely want to get some Josh Reddick in there. But for me tomorrow, you can get rid of Kepler and go somewhere else because that's a 4 stack and potentially free up some space as well. So this is roughly what my lineup's going to look like tomorrow. Fried Perez at catcher or at pitcher. Favorite plays from each stack. Let me go ahead and draw that in there. So you're going to see my top 3 plays from the stack. Let me drop him out. These are going to be my favorite plays from these stacks. I think that you can look at these. I'm going to leave these 2 spots open. You can go ahead and fill them in as you please. Like I said, Castro's a little bit of an expensive catcher when you look at some of the lower price catchers you can fit in to get some higher price first and third baseman. But these are going to be my favorite plays moving forward, moving into tomorrow. Max Fried and Martin Perez are going to be my 2 pitchers that I'm going to look for. I think they just draw the best matchups. I think that Minnesota Twins are going to be a very, very good team to stack, and I picked some strategic plays to stack. I think Kepler leading off is just incredible. Castro has been hitting out of his mind lately, and 4,100 is still a soft price. And then looking over at Dan Straley to kind of bully him, Gleyber Torres, 5,300, and Aaron Hicks, 4,700, my 2 favorite plays. I want to go ahead and highlight both of those guys and make Gleyber Torres my dinger of the day call. I think Torres is going to go deep tomorrow and just give the Yankees and propel them forward to a victory. And lastly, I just want to say that Josh Reddick is going to be my value from Houston Astros. The Yankees and the Astros are just too expensive stacks, so I look at the Twins and potentially the Tigers as well. Like I mentioned, Castellanos and Candelario at 3,100 is just ridiculous. Putting him at third base just is so easy to fit in some of the rest of the guys that you want to fit in. So yeah, that's going to be my first look for this slate tomorrow. Like I said, keep a lookout and listen for potential injury news. So if you like the video, just go ahead and give it a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe if you're on Apple Podcasts as well as YouTube. And then follow us on Twitter at @FantasyDigest_, where we tweet out all the videos as well, and our Facebook page at Daily Fantasy Digest. If you enjoyed the video and you enjoyed all the plays and the talking through of watching me build a lineup, I really appreciate all the support that I've been getting on the videos. If you wouldn't mind, like I said, following on social media and YouTube as well, that would be absolutely wonderful. They're going to be breaking out some more breakdowns this week as well as some interviews, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, peace.